Hello, welcome to Where Are the Jobs and How Can We Prepare Our Children for Them? I'm Janet Blunt, the founder of Careers Are Us. Today, my guest is Miss Takiyah Starks. Miss Starks is a native of Chicago, Illinois. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in Biology Pre-Med from Bennett College for Women. From there, she went on to receive her MS degree in biology from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University while researching at Wake Forest University Baptist Medical Center in cancer biology. Ms. Starks is currently a project manager at the Maya Angelou Center for Health Equity, where her focus is research in the genetics of Alzheimer's disease, particularly African Americans and underrepresented populations. Her goal is to increase awareness in Alzheimer's disease and bridge the gap of health inequities in the most vulnerable populations. She has a personal connection to Alzheimer's disease. Her paternal grandmother is living with Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed with the disease in her late 50s. This makes this research especially meaningful for her. Currently, there is no cure for Alzheimer's disease. This makes finding answers to better understand the disease very critical. In the words of Dr. Maya Angelou, I believe the responsibility for tomorrow is in our hands today. We all can make a difference. Welcome, Ms. Starks. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's jump right into these questions.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tell me a bit about your career path?
Yes. So like my bio said, I went to Bennett College. I'm a native from Chicago. Wanted to go to medical school, actually. And then graduated from college. Met my husband in college. And decided to take a break. So I took a break, got back into grad school because the goal was still to go to medical school. I just wanted to take a little break. So I went to take epidemiology classes, public health courses, and then applied to A&T and was accepted into the grad program in biology, the Master of Science in Biology program there. Completed that, did my dissertation work at Wake Forest School of Medicine, or Wake Forest Baptist Health here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I did my research in cancer biology. So I looked at the cytotoxic effects of a platinum drug in lung cancer cell lines. Okay. So
Wow.
after I received my master's degree in biology, I went back to A&T and became a professor. So I started to teach college students biology and also advise them. The goal was still to go to medical school, was just making a little deviation, I guess. And then I got married while I was in grad school, had a baby while I was in grad school. After I got married, we ended up having Jada, which is our second child, because of my husband at the time, he has an older son. So he had a son already. So that was our second child together. After that, started teaching, was there as a faculty person there at A&T. Then Dr. Berger, who was the chair at the time, received funding for Alzheimer's disease research. Now, mind you, I didn't think I was going to go in this path, but it was interesting because, again, my grandmother during college was diagnosed. when I was 19 years of age, maybe 20 years of age, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And it wasn't until I started doing research on Alzheimer's disease that my grandmother actually had this disease almost 10 years prior to her diagnosis, because I had started to see some personality changes while I was in college that kind of threw me for a loop. But I was like, okay, maybe she's just not having a good day today. So when I looked in research, I said, you know what, this is probably going to be interesting. I have a family history with this disease. And we're going to be educating African Americans, providing resources, educational materials on signs and symptoms. And I would love to do that. That's really what piqued my interest. So from there, I became a clinical research coordinator, because of everything that the study required, which was manage and do or fulfill the duties that the research aims or research proposal requested or desired when they submitted the proposal. So at that time, we had to get 2,000 African Americans in our genetics research study at that time. 1,000 individuals without Alzheimer's disease and another 1,000 with Alzheimer's disease or dementia. So from there, I've been doing this research ever since. I moved from being a clinical research coordinator to a social and clinical research specialist. From there, I'm now a clinical project manager over Alzheimer's research here at the Maya Angelou Center. So that's where I am now. Now, that doesn't mean that I still won't have a different career path after this, because now I'm thinking about going back to school in my 40s. I am 40. So I'm thinking about going back to school, and it's not even a thing. I am going to go back to school and either get my doctoral degree in biomedical science or in aging research. So, yeah. And I may even think about still PA because they actually have a PA PhD program here at Wake Forest School of Medicine. So that's my career path. I often tell people, you may have goals, you do want to pursue them, of course, and stay on the path, but sometimes the Lord brings you and moves you in different directions. I never thought I would be doing, to be honest, research in Alzheimer's disease, and to be able to say that I love doing it, and I love talking to people, and I love providing those resources, especially for our communities. I end up having a special connection with my participants or my families that I enroll in the study. I give them my cell number. And I think that's really the most fulfilling part of my job, is being able to provide those resources, education, and being of service to help those families or individuals in need of some type of respite, resource of some kind to care for their loved ones and to deal and cope with this disease. So that's really the best part of it, in my opinion. Not enrolling them in the study per se, but being able to help them.
Now you mentioned PA, PhD. Is that physician's assistant? What is PA?
Yes, you get your physician's assistant degree as well as your Doctor of Philosophy degree.
Okay.
It's a 5-year program here. Right now, Wake is the only one in North Carolina that has a dual degree program in that way.
Okay.
Because it gives me both worlds. I love what I'm doing now still, but I still always wanted to go, that fire in me and that burning passion of wanting to treat patients and be able to treat our communities. My goal when I thought about medical school was to open up a free clinic. I don't know how I was going to do it. Go to medical school and open up a free clinic to service people, our African American communities, so that they can receive health care at no cost. I don't know how I was going to do this, but That was my dream. It still is in some regards. So.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what kind of doctor did you plan to be in order to have this frequent?
Well, I was actually going to be a cardiologist, a thoracic cardiologist, because when I went to UVA School of Medicine, I did an intern there.
Mm-hmm.
And I did an internship there, and I was with a pediatric cardiologist and that was very interesting, and it piqued my interest, and I kind of wanted to move over in that field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. 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 Okay. Well, let's say that the next question is, what type of education, training, or background does your job require?
So for clinical research coordinator initially, you probably just need your BS or BSN, because usually those individuals who are doing any type of clinical research or clinical work are collecting a specimen or a sample or some kind. It may be a blood sample, it may be a saliva sample, it could be a hair sample. It just depends on what you're looking for or what you're researching. You also would need to be able to draw blood. That's why I said I'm also a phlebotomist too. So I went back to school to get to become a certified phlebotomist as well.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, of course, good personal skills and just being kind and empathetic too, and being able to relate to people. I don't think you can get people in any type of research study or even to do things in general if you don't have a passion for them or passion for it, or if you don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
With me, I actually have a passion for what I do. I think what I do or what we do at the Maya Angelou Center as regards to our research is very, very important. And it's very, very beneficial for our communities. I love what I do still. I'm 44. I didn't think I would still be doing this at 44 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only because I like and enjoy what I do, and I like and enjoy working with Dr. Bird because she is a visionary, and she wants to improve the health and the lives of people, most particularly vulnerable populations like African Americans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Bird is Dr. Goldie Bird.
Yes, Dr. Goldie Bird. She's my supervisor, and as well the principal investigator of our research study.
Mm-hmm. 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 Now, and I think you kind of answered this question already, but let me just confirm. In your introduction, I mentioned you received your Bachelor of Science degree in Biology pre-med, and that was from Bennett College for Women, and you received your MS degree in Biology from North Carolina A&T.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did this help you in pursuing the career path that you have right now?
Yes, of course. So, in particularly, my master's degree is research-based, right? So I had to defend a thesis, defend my project, and in front of a panel of people, and they decide on whether or not you've met the aims and the goals, and you have graduated, or you have successfully defended your project or your research proposal or your research in general. What I'm doing now is research in Alzheimer's disease. And that has allowed me to be able to perform my job and my duties that are associated with the grant at the highest level. Yes.
Okay. And my next question is, what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to success in this field? And then the follow-up question will be, and you've mentioned some of the things that you do. You mentioned that you feel particularly close to the families that you um, bring into the research project.
Mm-hmm.
But after you answer the question, what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to success in this field, could you tell us kind of what you do, kind of in the day in the life of
Of what of a coordinate of a
yes,
project manager.
yes, yes.
So let me tell you, I'm a jack of all trades. Because but basically, what the clinical research person would do, being that I'm a project manager, I also manage people who are under the project. So say for instance, if we have a data person, I manage and supervise that person. If we have another clinical person, I manage and supervise that person. So I make sure the project runs smoothly and I manage all of the duties of that. Say for instance, making sure the project is approved by our institutional review board, which are a group of panels, a group of individuals that sit on a panel that make sure we're abiding by those federal and state guidelines in regards to human subjects research. There are certain laws and certain things that you must do in order to perform human subject research. Okay. And you have to make sure that you meet all of those criteria, and it goes through a review process with your institution in order to make sure we are following those guidelines and we're keeping you guys or human subjects or individuals safe when they enroll in our study. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Of course, that's not just one thing, but that's one thing, managing. So the day of mine would be, say, for instance, if I was still out in the field due to COVID, I haven't been doing that. So we had to kind of alter how we administer assessments. I would go to a person's home. We would go through the consent process and answer any questions that that person may have, draw the blood sample. Once I draw the blood sample, then I will ask questions that test memory and concentration. Now, keep in mind, because my research focuses on Alzheimer's disease, that's the protocol that I'm following. Now, say if I was doing cancer drug therapies or getting someone in a cancer study, that would be totally different. I would probably be consenting the individual. You probably would come to the hospital or the clinic, and then you would be administered whatever, a placebo, depending on if you are in a control group. And then you would also receive, and the people who are not in the control group would receive the actual clinical drug that would be used. So you got to think about what the actual project entails. It may not be a clinical trial. It could be a research project manager where you're looking at diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. And it could be something like collecting hemoglobin A1C and then also administering neuropsych examinations, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense to you guys and you're understanding it. Yeah. From that process, I get family and medical history because of it being a genetic link. We're looking for genetic links. And then we send those samples to a biorepository, as well as the University of Miami Miller School Laboratory for Alzheimer's disease. That is a repository where all scientists will have access to samples there, but they're de-identified. No one knows who those individuals are. They only know that they're male. Well, they only know their gender and their birth year. So no one knows that. But that's the day of, that's basically the day of what I would do in regards to the project that I'm on. Okay, okay. And now that we understand a day in the life of Takiyah Starks, what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential for someone who might be interested in going into this field? So I believe you would need to be organized. Most of all, again, have passion and believe in what you're doing. And to me, you have to be in this for serving others, if that makes sense. So when I go out into the community, yes, my job is to recruit and enroll as many people in our study, right? But my main job in my mind is not to do that. My main job is actually to provide education, resources, information, so I can help individuals who are suffering with this disease or caring for someone with this disease. That is my first and main reason for doing this. So when I go in the community, it's not, recruitment is on the last part of my mind. Of course, I talk about our study because I feel like it's an important study in addition to providing that information. But my main goal is for you to get information. So you can't be in it to say, I'm just gonna do this, take something and leave. I don't want us to be, I'm not a person that wants to meet someone or enroll individuals and feel like you never have a continued connection to us. That's the whole point of the newsletter. That's the whole point of you, us sending out information when it comes to COVID, keeping you connected to the center, keeping you all connected to us. So I think you have to be very passionate, empathetic, caring, and just have those personal skills of just saying, I'm just here to help. I mean, I remember, and I'm just gonna say, I remember even being with a participant in Asheville. It was in Asheville. And he didn't know me the first, but I guess, again, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I came to visit his wife who has dementia. He didn't realize that it was going to take as long as it was going to take, and he needed to go to the grocery store. So I offered and said, Mr. So-and-so, if you want me to stay with her while you go to the grocery store, I can do that. Even if I'm finished, I'll wait and you come back. So he said, are you sure? I was like, yes. And I'm sure he might have had a little bit of trepidation or some reservations about this. This is his wife. This is his first time meeting me. But he trusted me, and I didn't mind doing that and staying as long as I needed to be with him in order so he can do what he needed to do. Again, because caregivers are caring for individuals with dementia around the clock. And it is oftentimes that they burn out, or they are sick, or that they end up passing away before the loved one passes away that has dementia. So, yeah, so those are the things that I'm talking about. You got to be willing to be selfless and giving of yourself and of your time, because sometimes it takes a little longer than you just administering assessments, drawing the blood, getting the family history, and then just leaving. So you just got to have those personal, small little attributes and be willing to go that extra mile without thinking you're going to get something in return. Which to me, you should do that in life in general. So,
yeah. Now, since you've gone into a lot of details about what you do, the skills, do you still have a need for people to participate in your study, or?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We're still looking for families. We're still looking for individuals with dementia, without dementia. Our families, we're looking for at least 2 people with the disease or more, 2 or more people with the disease, and then and people within that family who do not have Alzheimer's disease.
Okay. And we're talking African Americans?
Yes, we are talking about African Americans at this time. We have our other collaborators. They're doing Hispanics, but our focus is African Americans here.
Okay. And just in case, because Alzheimer's impacts African Americans
twice more often than Caucasians, yes. Hispanics 1.5 times more often than our Caucasian counterparts, yes.
So how would, if someone looks at this video and they have been impacted by dementia, how would they contact you or someone to see if they are eligible to participate?
So they could either contact me via email, which is go to the Maya Angelou Center for Health Equity website in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, or you can call me directly at 336-713-7600, and you would get me on my extension.
Now, when they go to the Maya Angelou website, what do they do to find you?
Oh, it's right there on the main page. You will see, it'll have our study. It'll say, do you have any memory issues? And you would just click on that and it would have my information.
Okay. Okay, great.
But again, they can also call me directly at that 336-713-7600.
Okay.
That's directly to the center.
Now, what are some common career paths in this field?
So with this field, you can either be a clinical trials research associate, which means you will be working with pharmaceutical companies. That's where you actually give drug therapies to individuals, where you have your placebo and then you have a group of people that you administer or give the actual drug to. This is a clinical study. So this is different because we're not giving a drug, we're taking a sample, which is a blood sample. So some people get those confused. Clinical trials are different from a clinical research study. Usually a clinical research study, usually again, just collects a sample. It may be a specimen like a blood sample, a saliva sample. I don't want to get technical, it could be a fecal sample, but a sample from the person. A clinical trial study is usually dealing with some form of a drug. So you can go in that path, which makes they make pretty good money. They can make up to about $90,000 starting out, to be honest.
Really?
You would need to be FDA approved, like go through FDA type training to make sure you're able to meet those clinical trials type requirements like they did. I'm gonna give you an example like our COVID. Remember they did it when they created it pretty quickly called warp speed, but they did not bypass the actual protocols to say this needs to be approved. What they did was just work on it around the clock, quicker or longer than they would if they were trying to develop it over a time span. So it's certain protocols that you have to follow through the FDA, and those are the things, if you want to do clinical trial research, you would have to go through and be able to pass and qualify and things of that nature. With this one, you don't have to have those FDA training. You just have to have city training, certification in phlebotomy and things of that nature. You can also be a clinical research associate, a clinical research coordinator, clinical research manager, and a lot of those managerial positions, when you talk about clinical research manager, a lot of those people actually have their BSN, because they're nurses, and some of those clinical research managers are also treating patients, like they're dealing with patients. So it just depends on where you want to go in and what clinical part you want to be, a role you want to play in research. You want to be the coordinator, it's going out, doing some of the things that I did to get people in the study. A clinical program manager like me, I'm over more than one study. I'm over our brain registry study, our Alzheimer study, our ADRC study, what we're doing with caregiving in men. So it's a lot of managing, and then you have more studies under your belt, whereas a clinical research coordinator actually goes out and draws the blood and do that type of work. Even though I do that too. I don't mind doing that, but I do that too. But a lot of times it's that I'm training those individuals to do what I'm doing.
Okay. Now you mentioned that with the career path where you are doing things with pharmaceutical drugs, you said they make good money, that they could start off at maybe $90,000.
If you look it up, it can start off maybe around, and it just depends on if you're in pharma. say for instance, if you're in industry or if you're an institution, if you're in an institution. So big pharmaceutical companies will pay more. When you're at an institution, sometimes you don't get the same salary you would at a pharmaceutical company. They have a little bit more, you know, they're more wealthier than some institutions are.
I see. I see. Now, the career path where you're not working with pharmaceuticals, but you are.
They like a job like me, a project manager, a program manager. You can make the same, but it's you can still make the same. You might not start off making 90, but you can come out making a decent salary.
Okay.
And it could lead up to when I looked at the average for a project manager, it can lead up to about 125,000. I think that's where they maxing out or something, but it just depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the next question is, what do you enjoy most about the work you do? And you have shared already that you want to help people. That's
my joy is when I get that call from a family member or someone and say, and they tell me, we don't know what we would do without you if you did not do X, Y, and Z. Or me, you know, I am so glad you came to the doctor with us because I would not have known what to ask the neurologist. Stuff like that. And even though I don't have to do that, I don't know even if I should be doing it. Well, I mean, I do get information anyway from them. I'm going to say private information. So even a family member, her father was so pleased with how I administered the assessments. He said, I want her to test me, but I couldn't test him because I wasn't the MD at the neurologist. It was the neurologist. So I told him, how about we make a compromise and I come with you? And because he did not want to go to the doctor. And I went with him, and he was so happy that I went with him. I mean, even to this day, he had a birthday. Last year during COVID, we were outside. I came, they invited me. So that's what I mean about a lot of our families tend to end up saying, you one of us now, so come on in, you one of us. And inviting me to their events. I may not be able to attend all of them, but it's nice to kind of know that that's how they view me, and they have kind of brought me into their fold. So yeah. Even I'm trying to even go to some funerals when they tell me a loved one has passed away, especially here in Greensboro. I even flew to DC for a funeral. If I'm able to do and attend things that I find out of what's going on within those families, I usually try to do my best to do that.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know a lot of research. Dr. Bird attended a couple of them with me as well. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something right there. Wow.
Let me tell you, once we get enough people in here, Dr. I'm about to call you Dr. Blount. Dr. Blount. Miss Blunt. My goal is to be able to provide birthday cards. It's just going to take a massive undertaking because we don't have a lot of people to do that, but birthday cards, when we find out people have passed away, something to those families or individuals, just to be able to say, let them know that we're still thinking about them and that we appreciate them. If I'm able to do that, I just got to figure out a way. Now we have over 1,000 people enrolled that have enrolled in our study alone, in our African Americans at our site now, not the other collaborating sites, but at our site.
Wow.
I don't know how they're continuing to contact. I know they do newsletters too, but as far as it being as intimate as I want, like it's going that extra mile, and even knowing the birthdays, and somehow it automatically generates something out, almost like you get when you get some of these banks or one of these when they send you your birthday. But you got to have somebody on that end knowing when to pull that and stuff. So But that is my goal, to just let people know that we appreciate them and that we're thinking about them still, even after you enroll. Because if you notice, we don't really mess or go back to the home, or usually we don't. It's more of, we're looking at the genes. So if anything, we end up either doing more follow-up, or if we didn't get a good sample, we may try to see if we can get the sample again. But other than that, our contact is usually through either email or through mail. Mail.
Now, let me just ask a follow-up question. You mentioned, you're looking at the genes. What exactly are you trying to study? What is the hope to find once this study is complete?
So what we're trying to do is to find out what genetic factors increase African Americans' susceptibility or chances for developing dementia. If there is a family history, what are those genes that are being passed down to increase our risk? And the hope is that we will find some type of intervention or even a cure that would either slow down the progression of the disease or find some type of medical treatment that could, again, cure Alzheimer's disease. That's the hope. But we look at genetics because we know that genetics plays a role. And if we're able to identify those genes, maybe those genes can be targeted for drug therapies or manipulated, when you call it gene therapy in some regard, and we're talking about more future research. But that is the hope, is that we can find some type of intervention, cure, or treatment to treat this disease, because there is no cure. It's nothing slowing it down. There is no cure at this time.
Wow. All right. Now, what do you enjoy least about this?
I can tell you, it's the sitting down and the admin work and having to put stuff in and I have a board on this side where you see all of this written that I have to do I try to get through each day, and I never get through it each day, but it's the admin work. I like being more hands-on, approaching, being with people. I'm a talker. So, so when you get two talkers and I'm with a family or person and we talk all day, and I'm like, oh Lord, we got to go back and deviate and do this. So I like talking with people. So I like talking with them. I like helping them. I like being able to provide resources. I just like helping people. I don't know. And I get a pleasure. I get happy when they're happy. So, or when they are doing well.
Now, what do you wish you had known when you were starting out in this career? I know you just said that earlier in our conversation that you, at the age that you are now, you had no idea that you would still be doing this. So what do you wish you had known when you were starting out?
Well, I guess I wish I would have known starting out. I'm going to say not even just starting out, but in general, that everybody doesn't do and think the way that you think, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the way that I do something, I think I always assume that people did it the same way or thought the same way. Like, I guess I want to say the way people treat others. I guess when you're out in this world, you don't realize that people aren't the same, or they don't have your compassion or your heart or your same concerns. So I wish, I guess my parents would have toughened me up a little bit more about that, if that makes, in some regard.
Yeah.
I'm a straight shooter. Everybody's not that way. So, and maybe, that's probably what I'm getting out. But yeah, that's what I probably would. Other than that, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. If this is not where I'm supposed to be, the Lord is going to lead me in a way where I'm supposed to be. So.
All right. Now, is there a need for more African American medical research project managers, or all the the other career paths that you mentioned? Do we need more African Americans in these careers?
We always need more African Americans with PhDs doing this type of research. Sometimes when we're in these meetings with our Alzheimer's groups here at Wake, and I am at a PWI now, but it's only me and Dr. Bird.
Okay. Now PWI is what?
It's a predominantly white institution, but instead of an HBCU, which is a historically Black college and university, but it's usually just Dr. Bird in some of these meetings, and sometimes it's usually just me and Dr. Bird. It may be a sprinkle of African Americans in this research, especially with Alzheimer's disease, because a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to say a lot of people, African Americans tend to be more guarded. We tend to be more secretive about what's going on, and we don't want others to know. So we don't tend to pursue those type of careers because they feel like that's normal part of aging. Some people think that's what it is, but it's not. So we do need more African Americans, particularly in this field of research. They always they talk about even some of our collaborators talk about how Dr. Bird, who wasn't for Dr. Bird and her team, she's done a great job with even, providing and giving information and increasing African American participation in our genetics research study. And again, that comes from because we care. We really genuinely care. It's not about getting the numbers or meeting the numbers. So not for me, it isn't, and not for her. So it's about making sure our people have the information, the education needed to enhance their lives, to live better and productive lives, and lives that they can live with grace, peace, and dignity. So.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, what suggestions would you share with elementary and middle school parents on ways to help their children be ready if their child decided to pursue this career? And then the second part is specifically what courses should a student take in middle and high school to prepare them? Because what sometimes happens, I think, is students early may not get exposed to a variety of careers. And then in high school, somebody like you comes talk to the high school class and they say, oh man, that sounds like something I'm interested in, but they've not taken the math, the science. I mean, if that's required, I don't know. So that's my question. What?
Well, middle school, they still have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I would say in middle school, if they're able to get into the accelerated reader pro classes, reading is key. I'm just going to say, if you're reading comprehension in general, that is key, period. Because if you can't read and do not understand or comprehend what you're reading, you're not going to be able to do a math problem, right? You're not going to be able to write. So reading in middle school and focus on that. In high school, I would say start putting them in some of their like AP classes or honors classes if they're eligible to be in those. And if you feel your daughter or child can do honors, there's nothing wrong with going to the school and say, I want my child in an honors chemistry course, an honors biology course. I know for some classes, that's what I did with my daughter. But that's what I would do. Reading, honors, math, just get them into some of the good, tough classes because they're not as tough as they think. It's more work than anything. And then now now they're waiving these tests. I don't know if they're going to waive them completely, but if they have to take the ACT or the SAT, then, get them started early and during that, maybe their sophomore year, like doing the trainings and things like that, and then doing the mock testing their junior year, so they'll be ready to enroll or apply to college their junior and senior year.
And I think one reason I asked this question is to your point about the importance of reading. When you look at statistics for
African American,
yeah,
the reading levels are very low. Yes, they
are. It's not going too well.
And that's why I say reading, reading, reading.
Yeah.
Now, I was fortunate to be in grad school, married, of course, in grad school, and had my child. So a lot of times I was able to read to her and do all of that. My daughter was, by the time she was in kindergarten, my daughter was already reading.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. They even wanted to move her up from kindergarten to first grade. And I just said no, because she had never been to school. She had just been with us. So, in daycare. So reading is important. Again, I am so in agreement with you, Ms. Blunt. The reading levels for African Americans, not in almost every state, are very, very low.
Yeah.
That is very key in middle school. Kindergarten and middle school, make sure they read. Make them read. My daughter, I made her read a book. I made her read to me while I cooked. So you can find time, even if you are a busy parent, to get it in and make them enjoyable and make it and do it together. That's what I'm saying. So I was cooking, she would read. When she would couldn't say a word, I would make her sound it out. So reading is fundamental. She was telling me that the other day. She's already applied to 10 schools. And she was telling me, Mama, do you remember when I was little that you used to make me stop when I messed up or didn't stop after a period when I read? I said, yes. Do you? She said, yes. She said, that's one of the reasons why people tell me I read so well. I said, okay.
Oh, doesn't that make you feel good?
Yeah, I said, and then I said, what do you tell me? Is your mama the one that made you do all that? She told me, yes, Mama. Yes. But she said her teachers always tell her and call on her to read and stuff like that.
Now, should high school students reach out to people in this field and request informational interviews to learn more?
They can. I would even say they may want to even shadow. Like we have interns now who are in undergrad here. Some are also in graduate school here that are working with me. But if a high school student wanted to pursue a career in clinical research or clinical trials, then they should ask to shadow that individual, I think, to make sure that it's a career path they want to go to.
Great. Now, are there any questions I have not asked that you think I should have?
No, I think you've covered all the bases.
Wonderful. Ms. Starks, thank you
You are so welcome
for taking time to share this very, very important information with parents and students. Thank you so much.